Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Provider Roundtable presentation forum presented by the Office of Provider Development. My name is Amy Braswell. I am a community resource consultant on the provider team. I'm also the provider team lead. On our call, we're also joined by several community resource consultants who will be assisting in the background, answering your questions in the Q&A section. Let's review our agenda today. First, we're going to have an overview of supported living services presented by Dorcas Fenny-Batten, who is a provider team community resource consultant. And then we are going to have a presentation on the My Life, My Community provider search and the provider designation process. And that'll be presented by myself briefly, and then Kim Tarantino, who is the Deputy Director of Virginia Navigator. But first, before we do that, I have a few housekeeping things I want to go over. I'm sorry. First, chat has been disabled for attendees, and everyone is muted. So I do ask that you use the Q&A function for any questions and comments, and we will make sure that we will get to those for you. I do want to put out a FYI out there that Myers and Stauffer, and they are program integrity with DMAS. So those are the people who are out there, who are the accountants who are looking for paybacks. They are out in full force. So if you do have them contact you, I recommend that you reach out to your provider team, CRC, or if you are a community services board, to contact your system team CRC, and we can support you through that process if they show up. Also, our past provider roundtable recordings, slides, and Q&As have been posted to our provider development webpage. So if you are looking for answers to any questions that you've asked, those have been put on there. I apologize that we've not been great about getting those out to you on time, and we are trying to do better. We've put a system in place to try to get those out to you in a more timely manner. So thank you for being patient with us on those. Could somebody put the link to our website in the chat so everybody can have that? I do want to show you all real quick that if anyone does have something that has gone out through our provider listserv, you can always go to one of the emails. If you can see here on your screen, any of the emails that have come out through the provider network listserv, you can see there's a link here at the bottom that will take you to the archive. And when you click on this, it will bring you here to the archive. And let me bring it over into the screen so you can see. And it has a list of everything that's ever come out through the provider network listserv. So you can go way back in time here. So there's all sorts of information, all the archive of all sorts of things that's not even accurate anymore if you go back far enough. But if you want to catch up on things that you might have missed, or if you're looking for something, there's a great deal of information that's available to you on there. So I just wanted to show that to everybody before we get started. All right, so without further ado, I am going to pass it over to Dorcas Fenny-Batten. It skipped your intro page, Dorcas, so go ahead.
Thank you, Amy, and good morning, everyone. I hope you all can hear me. As Amy said, my name is Dorcas Fenny-Batten, Community Resource Consultant with the provider team. And what we do is we support prospective providers and existing providers to add the service, and also for the prospective providers to become providers. And today we are going to talk to you about supported living service. With a supported living service, it consists of skill building support, routine support, general and health and safety, and just basically providing skills to the person to gain independence or increase independence in order to successfully live in the community. And how is this service different from other residential service? This is provided in a form of around-the-clock availability of staff to support the person in a timely manner when the person is in need of support. So if a person needs 1 hour support that day, the staff is available to provide that kind of support. If an individual needs about 10 hours support, staff is available to do so. And with this type of service, it can be provided to a person individually or more than one person, depending on the individual's needs. And the person can also receive this type of service in the comfort of his own home or and for a person to receive this type of service, the person should have either fees waiver, which is family and individual support waiver, or CL waiver, which is community living waiver. Next slide, please. So this type of service can take place in one of these two settings. And the settings, we have residential setting, and then in the person's home or an apartment. But to receive this in a residential setting, a person or a provider has to obtain a DBHDS, supervised living residential service license, to provide this type of service in a residential setting. And with the second setting, a provider has to obtain a supportive in-home license to provide this type of service to a person in his own home or in an apartment. How is a supervised living residential license different from providing this service with supportive in-home license? Let's look at supervised living residential license. Of course, a provider has to obtain a supervised living residential license. With this type of setting, the setting itself is licensed by the DBHDS. And if it's licensed, then it should comply or be in full compliance with HCBS setting requirements. The site is leased or sublet to the individual by the provider, which means continuation of support at the site depending on whether the person is receiving the service from the provider. And it also means that if a person wants to switch providers, they will be required to move out of the location. And with this type of service or with this type of setting, individuals do not qualify for State Rental Assistance Program, which is SRAP. Now let's look at supportive in-home residential license. Providers with supportive in-home license operating in-home service can apply for modification to use the same license to operate a supported living service. Of course, a person has to have either CL or fees waiver to receive this service. And as I said, you can receive this service in the comfort of your own home or in an apartment. And if you are not happy with the type of support the provider is providing to you, you can switch providers at any time and you wouldn't be required to move out of your home. And also, the good thing about this type of setting is that you can qualify for SRAP or State Rental Assistance Program in order to help you pay for your housing and also maintain housing. Next slide, please. Let's look at the reimbursement. It is daily. The unit of the service is 1 day or it's daily, which means if a person needs an hour support that day, or 10 hours support that day, or 15 hours support that day, or even 30 minutes support that day, provider is still going to bill for the entire day. And the billing does not exceed 344 days per year. It is also a tiered service for reimbursement, which means reimbursement is based on the person's assigned level and tier. And as I said earlier, providers may bill the unit of service if any portion of the plan for support is provided that day. Let's look at how to become a provider of this service. First, you need to obtain a DBHDS license. You must comply with human rights regulations. You must comply or be in full compliance with CMS, HCBS settings regulations. You have to obtain DMAS participation agreement, because that is going to help you bill for the service. And you can apply or explore the Jumpstart funding program. You can also use the toolkit. The link is below to access more information on how to become a provider of this service. Next slide, please. Thank you. And a few things to keep in mind. Provider must be licensed by DBHDS for either supervised residential living license or supportive in-home license. This is a skill building component. Staff providing this service must meet provider training and competencies requirement as specified in the DBHDS manual and then the regulations. Providers shall meet all of the provider requirements and documentation requirements specified in the regulations and then the manual. And always we are there to support and provide guidance. The team too, if you are interested in this program or in this service, please reach out and we are going to provide you with all the tools that you need to become a provider of this service. And we have our link, CLC contact link. And as always, thank you for the good things that you are doing. We do appreciate everything you do. Thanks.
Sorry, Dorcas, it jumped forward. So perhaps somebody can put the link to our contact list in the chat as well. And since it didn't show up on the slide, so I apologize for that, everyone. All right, thank you, Dorcas. All right, so next we are going to discuss the My Life, My Community provider search and provider designation process. So we do have Kim Tarantino with us, who is the Deputy Director of Virginia Navigator. But first I want to talk a little bit about the purpose of the provider search and the provider designation process. You all might have heard us many times encourage providers to go and register for the provider search and encourage everyone to complete some of the provider designation surveys that are available on the My Life, My Community website. So the provider search once it's populated with provider information, we hope will be a one-stop shop for individuals, families, and support coordinators to find the DD waiver services that they want in the location that they desire. And then once a provider completes the provider designation surveys, submits the evidence, and receives a badge, then it will allow individuals, families, and support coordinators to know that a provider has been verified to offer services in autism, complex health supports, behavioral supports, and or they are accessible. Right now, we only have 4 providers who hold badges in each of those 4 designation areas. And so we know that there are so many more of you out there who, offer services in those areas and are accessible. And I just had a request the other day, who are the providers out there who are accessible? And, we don't have any way to know that except for, calling around, and support coordinators don't have a way to know that except for calling around. So this is a way to populate that information and to have that information available so we can find you easily, and that individuals can find you, and families can find you, and the support coordinators can find you. But the only way for us to know that is for you to tell us and for you to show us. And so that is the purpose of this process. And so hopefully today, through us showing you how it works in the process and how to go through it, that more of you will be empowered to go and to share your information with the My Life, My Community site, to register to be professional members, and complete the surveys, submit your evidence so we can verify you, that you can have your provider designation badges. And so individuals who want and need your services can find you. All right, and so with that, I'm going to ask Kim to share us some more information on how it works on the My Life, My Community, the Virginia Navigator end. And when she's done, I will tell you what we do once that side has been completed and what DBHDS does. So Kim, take it away.
Great, thank you so much, Amy. Thank you everyone for having me today. As Amy said, I'm going to share with you some information about how you can, A, make sure that your agency and programs and services are listed on the My Life, My Community resource, and B, how to connect to those really important provider designation surveys that Amy was just talking about. So just to start off, many of you may have heard of the My Life, My Community website. For anyone that hasn't, or just as a quick refresher, My Life, My Community, this is the homepage, just a little screenshot for you, and you'll see the URL there down at the bottom. And I believe Amy may be including that in the chat too, if anyone needs to reference that. But the My Life, My Community website is an online tool that helps people with disabilities and their families answer, basic questions about services and supports. And it can also connect them with providers right in their community, as Amy was just saying. So while this is obviously a resource for families across the state, there's also a section called the Provider Hub that is specific to providers such as yourself. And that's what we're really going to focus on today. And I'll show you how to ensure that your agency and programs are included. And then, of course, how to connect to those provider designation surveys. Next slide, please. Okay, so first, as a provider, the first thing that you're going to want to do to find sort of that Provider Hub section is over on the far right-hand side, you'll see the little arrow flashing where it says Find a Provider. This is an area where folks across the state can connect with providers and find really important information. But this is also where you will click in order to connect with this Provider Hub that I mentioned. So Amy, if you'll go ahead and click through. So this actually just shows you, when you click on that tab, you'll scroll down under For Providers and click on Provider Hub. Here you'll find a whole host of information for you as a provider. Now, the one area that we're going to focus on today is really, as I said, making sure that you have your information included in this resource directory. So once you're in this provider hub, in order to do that, you will see this register or verify a new provider profile. So that's where you're going to want to click first. So if you'll click Amy, and then you'll just follow these steps as indicated, starting at number 1. So the first step is your agency in the resource directory? And so if you're not sure, you can actually click right there. You'll see where it has a hyperlink. It says A to Z service provider menu. So when you click that, you can check to see if your agency is already listed in the resource directory. So Amy, if you'll click, so this is that A to Z service provider menu. The menu of agencies is alphabetized for ease of checking. So in this example, let's just say somebody is looking for, let's just say it's a member of Virginia DBHDS. They click on V, they scroll down until they see the Virginia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services. And there it is. So we would know that, okay, yep, that agency is listed. So that's the step. If you're not sure if you're listed in My Life, My Community, that's the step you would take as the number 1. First, see if you're listed, and you can do so real easily with that A to Z service provider menu. So in this case, we did see where, in this example, Virginia DBHDS was located in the service menu. So we can just go back to where we were, and then we can go to step number 2, which says, if yes, register as a professional member. So when you click on that register button, here you'll see where you would create a new account, log in, or request a new password. But in this case, let's just say you don't have an account. So you would actually just create a new professional account. It asks for a host of information about yourself, your name, your phone number, your agency name. You'll scroll down, you hit the CAPTCHA, and hit create new account. Now, if you know you already have a professional profile, you can also log in or request a new password here and not have to worry about obviously creating the new account. Okay, now on the contrary, if you had gone to that A to Z service provider menu and you did not see your agency listed, meaning your agency is not included in the My Life, My Community directory, then it would be really important for you to go ahead onto step 3 and complete this application. So when you would click there, you'll be automatically directed to the DD waiver provider application. And as you can see here, all of the fields are available for completion, asking about your agency's details first, and then asking for specific program or service details. A whole host of information is included: hours of operation, intake contact, financial information, if transportation is provided, so on and so forth. The one thing I do want to mention to you also is, as you're scrolling down, you will see where it says, I accept the terms of data submission. It's kind of easy to lose that, and that gets a little lost in the sauce. So I wanted to point that out. That is important, that you need to check that box. Scroll down, finish the rest of the information, and then hit submit. Now, once you have hit submit, you'll know if your information went through successfully, because you'll get the little green success box that we all love to see when we're filling in any forms online, right? So it says, thank you, your application has been accepted and is being reviewed. So what that means is the information that you have completed on the application has come to our team at Virginia Navigator, and we partner with DBHDS on the My Life, My Community website. So it allows our team of data specialists to review the information and go ahead and start reviewing and adding your information to the My Life, My Community resource directory. So you will actually, if you could move to the next slide, you will actually receive an email confirmation from one of our team members within 2 to 3 business days, confirming that your information has been added to the database successfully. And this is just a little snippet of what that email, would look like. So you definitely want to stay tuned to your email. Make sure you get that confirmation message from us. Certainly, if you don't, or you have any questions, by all means, please either email or contact someone on our team. So next slide, once you've received that confirmation that your agency is now a part of the database, you can actually go back to the My Life, My Community website on the Provider Hub. And instead of going and needing to register or verifying, that you're listed, you would go straight into login or a login to update your agency. So if you click there, you'll go in, you will log in with your credentials. Your confirmation email that you received will actually provide your username, and then the system would have already prompted you to create your password previously. So with the email confirmation that you'll receive containing the username, and then the previously established password that you've created, you'll have the credentials necessary to go ahead and log in. I do want to mention, though, if you need assistance or you need a new password, you can go ahead at the top and request that new password button in that blue box at the top of the screen, and we will reset your password and get back to you with a temporary password. So no worries if you can't remember that password. We can certainly help you with that. Now, next slide. Once you're logged in, you'll see your information pop up in the View tab. You can actually go to that Edit tab to access and update your individual account information or individual professional profile information. And then you can go back to View to see the Provider Portal tab once again. So you would click here to open up your portal. Now, this is a picture of what the Provider Portal looks like at a quick glance. Your Provider Portal houses your agency's listing, all 4 of the provider designation survey links, and all of the programs or services that your agency offers that you have in the resource directory. So next slide. In order to edit your agency and how it is seen on the consumer side of the database, there's an Edit Agency button. So you would simply click that button, and you can actually go through all the various tabs to edit or simply just view the information about your agency. If you've made any changes in any of the tabs as you go through, please just hit Ready for Review. If your agency is no longer active or you want it removed from the database, you would hit No Longer Active. And if you viewed the information but nothing needed updating, you would just simply hit Reviewed and No Changes. So all of those options put your agency in a needs review state. When you go through, our team would actually at that point receive a little notification that you had, reviewed your agency's information. And then it would allow our team to see what changes you made and go ahead and publish those to the live site. Please note that I want to just make sure this is clear, because sometimes folks will make a change in their provider portal and then they go to the website and they see, let's just say they changed their hours of operation from 8 to 5, they changed it to 9 to 5. And so they go back on the provider side and they're still seeing the original 8 to 5, and they contact us saying, hey, I changed my hours to 9 o'clock. I don't see that reflected. You just have to give our team a day in order to review it and publish it to live. It oftentimes doesn't take a day. We just allow one in order to do so. So just know it's not instant. The reason for that is so our team can have a quality assurance in place and just make sure that everything looks as it should, and there isn't any questions on our end that we would need to contact you about or anything like that. Okay, So now you actually can see right here, this is an agency's programs or services, just a sample here. So if you wanted to actually edit any of the programs or services that fall under your agency, because each agency may have multiple programs or service offerings in the resource directory, you would actually just hit the edit link next to each one of those in your provider portal. So again, we've talked about how you can update your agency's information as a whole. This right here is updating each of these programs because each program might have, of course, slightly different information to relay to consumers. So that's what this allows you to do here. So you can go ahead, Amy, and click on the edit link. And this just shows you, this is the particular program's information here. So you can go through each of the tabs to view or update the information for what will be seen on the My Life, My Community site. And then you would hit any of the buttons at the bottom to be put into that needs review state like we talked about earlier. All right, so back to the provider portal one last time. So one of the things that Amy talked about earlier was the importance of the special provider designations. And in order to get those designations assigned to your agency and or programs, there is a required survey that DBHDS has put into place. And this here is actually, what it looks like and how you can connect to each of these surveys. So as Amy said earlier, there's a survey for accessibility, autism, behavioral supports, and complex health supports. So you would just follow the corresponding links to complete those surveys for each designation that you believe you may be eligible for. So if you'll just go ahead and click ahead, Amy. When you first open the survey link, it will open in the DBHDS's page in Qualtrics to give you their eligibility criteria, survey instructions, and the option to begin and complete those fields. You see here, it takes about 10 minutes and you need to complete the survey in one setting. So you just want to make sure you have the time to do that. So this is a screenshot of what the first page on Qualtrics would look like. For this example, it's the Autism Special Designation Survey on Qualtrics, but they all look very similar. Let's see, next slide. Okay, so when a search is done by a family across the state of Virginia that may be searching, in this case, let's say they're searching for a group home, they would on the search area of My Life, My Community, they can type in, of course, what they're seeking. They can type in their locality, so it could be Richmond, Roanoke, Manassas, wherever they are in the state of Virginia. They hit search, and then what comes back is a listing of those programs and services that match that criteria. So this is an example of when someone has conducted a search, what the results look like. So in this case, someone has searched for group homes. You can see it has up at the top the local listings. So this person actually searched in the Southwest Virginia area. And we also have statewide and nationwide programs as well that show on the My Life, My Community website, which you'll see is, at the second half of this screenshot. So if we receive verification from DBHDS that your agency has received one or more of those special designations, we will then attach it to your listings, and consumers will see not only that icon, the cute little star flare there that really lets people know, hey, this agency's got some special designations here, but they'll also know you offer those specifications, whether that's the autism, the complex health supports, so on and so forth. So I wanted to show you on the consumer side what that looked like and how your listing, if you received those designations, would look. In this case, this provider has all 4 designations. It could be that your agency may only have 1 or 2 But so in some cases, there will be one, in some cases, there may be more or all four. So just wanted to point that out as well. Next slide. So that is, in a nutshell, I know it was pretty quick, but I think, once you get in there, if you haven't been in the system, it's pretty consumer friendly and easy to use and easy to navigate. Once you are logged in and you make sure that you're, again, that first step is making sure, are you in fact listed? If not, we'll need you to complete that application. If you are already listed, we just need to get you that professional member and have you be able to review your programs and services and get in the provider portal that way. And again, all of that is accessible through that provider hub. So here down at the bottom, I've actually included this phone number right here, 844-603-9248. By calling that number, you will actually reach the My Life, My Community call center, where we have trained staff on the My Life, My Community website and the provider hub and provider portal that can help you through any of the processes that I've discussed with you today. So feel free to jot that number down, or of course, you're welcome to email us as well if that is an easier option for you. So Amy, that's all the slides that I had. I know you wanted to share with folks some more information about the surveys, so I will stop there.
Thank you so much, Kim. That was very informative, especially even, for myself. And, we take that information and go a further step, but to see that process from the other side is very informative even for us. So I appreciate that. So let me tell you all what happens after you pass the survey. So you don't just pass the survey and get the star, right? Or the provider designation badge. And some of you may already know this because we have an inbox that's full of past surveys, but without evidence that have been submitted to us. So once you've passed the survey, you will get a notification that has a list of evidence that you need to submit, a required documentation that you have to submit for verification. So somebody could easily go in and give us all the right answers, right? But you have to kind of show a little bit of evidence to back it up. So once you pass the survey, you send in the required documentation for verification, and then it's reviewed by a DBHDS committee within a week of receipt. So any week that we've received evidence, that committee will meet within the week, and then it'll be reviewed, and then the provider will be notified within 3 business days whether or not that evidence submitted was substantial or insufficient for verification. And then if it's verified, DBHDS will then notify Virginia Navigator, and a badge will be placed by the provider's name in the My Life, My Community search results. So a few other things: if you don't pass, then you have to wait 6 months before taking the survey again. But if you do pass, don't keep taking it over and over again. We do have some people who do that, and there's no need. Just what you need to do is submit the evidence. So that might be the piece that you're missing. You might think, hey, I submitted this, but I haven't gotten the badge. What's the piece that's missing? The piece that's missing is you haven't submitted that evidence. But if you are unsure, you can always email your provider team CRC, or we have the provider designation mailbox, which is provider designation at dbhds.virginia.gov. If somebody can maybe stick that one in chat too, that'd be helpful. If you submit insufficient or unclear evidence, you may retake it once you've made the program enhancements or after another 6 months. And then DBHDS will randomly visit providers, but we'll give you 30 days notice who've received designation, so we can review those program features and ensure that you have continued alignment with designation criteria. So with all of that said, let's review some of the questions that are in Q&A, and we have some time, so we can do this live. So there is a question. I have 4 questions here in the Q&A and some more coming in. All right, so the first question, Kim, that we have, this one's going to be for you. What is that box that you said that they need to check I think it was something about that they agreed to the data terms. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. And I don't want to say I want to tell you exactly what it says. Oh, it says, I accept the terms of data submission. And it's a little, it's a little kind of woven in there. I frankly, I'm not fond of the place of it. I think it should be at the very bottom, like right before you hit submit, but it's not. So that's why I wanted to share that with you all, because I just didn't want you to skip over that, because if you go hit submit, it's going to say, whoops, there's an error. So just a heads up, you just need to click that I accept the terms of data submission.
All right. And is there I guess a little link where you can read the fine print and everything?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you're good, Amy. Sorry.
All right. The next question was, can more than one user register per agency?
I think that's for me, meaning on the My Life, My Community website. The answer is yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Is there a preferred browser, Google, Edge, etc., to interface with the site to update, revise, etc., the information?
That's a great question, because we all know how finicky browsers can be. I will tell you, I don't know if there's a preferred. I use Chrome and I have had no problem. I know I also use Edge and I've had no problem. I think Internet Explorer can sometimes be a little finicky, but I think that's, I experienced that across other sites. So I think overall, I have had totally fine success with Chrome, Edge. I've used Firefox. I know doing things, even on mobile devices, we're compatible with that as well. So I think, as far as I know, really any browser should be okay.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's see. The next one is, what is the turnaround time for a new account being granted access?
So typically, I would allow 3 business days. Once you would complete your application, allow 3 business days then for us to review and get that email back to you, sharing that, yes, everything's been input and you should be good to go.
Thank you. All right, the next question I think is for us. Is there a way to see what the badge survey questions are and potential supporting documentation needed? So that differs depending on the survey. There's nothing to be lost if you go in and you don't pass the first time. That's okay. You just have to wait a little while. And I don't think for anybody that we've provided that information up front. So just go in, do the survey based on your organization and your site, and see if you pass. And then at the end it'll give you the list that's up there, and just give it a try. And the next question is, when possible, could you send the link for logging in as a provider? I realize we need to update some of our info. Yeah, certainly. We can actually put it in the chat here. Dorcas or Barry, can you go to the My Life, My Community page and go to the For Providers page and stick it in the chat, please? Let's see, other than how it's billed, is there a difference between supportive in-home and in-home supports? Supportive in-home, this is actually off topic for the, so let me stop share for our slideshow, and because it looks like we're having other questions now. So we'll move on to some other questions that are aside from our presentation. So I will say, before I move on to this question, Yvonne, so I'll hold on just a second. Are there any other questions regarding the My Life, My Community page and the provider search and provider designation? I don't see any more coming in. So thank you, Kim, so much for this information. This is very, very helpful. And hopefully we will have more surveys completed and more providers who are registering as professional members, and we can enhance the options on the search. Let's see, will there have to be separate applications for numerous services provided by one agency? So I believe it, correct me if I'm wrong, Kim, but when you go in there, the one agency completes the application for professional membership, and you can list all of the services you provide. That's correct, right?
That is correct, Amy. So
Okay.
you would register your agency, and then under that agency, so like the agency is like the umbrella, and under that agency, then you would have the ability to list all the different programs you offer.
Wonderful. Thank you again. All right. So if anyone else has further questions, you can reach out to your provider team, community resource consultant. And I am going to move on to Yvonne's question. Other than how it's billed, is there a difference between supportive in-home and in-home supports? So actually, supportive in-home is the name of the license, and in-home supports is the name of the service. So in-home supports is provided by providers who have a supportive in-home license, and supported living services now may be provided in a person's own home or apartment with a supportive in-home license. Hopefully that answers your question. Can you please repeat the difference? So you have supported living service and you have in-home support service. Those are two different services that now may be provided under supportive, under a supportive in-home license. Previously, supported living service could only be provided under I'm getting myself all discombobulated here, under a supervised residential license. And that would be in only a provider controlled environment where a provider owned the space. Now a person can control their own environment, and the service is not dependent. Their home environment is not dependent on their provider. I hope that makes sense. Dorcas or Barry or Jen or any of the other CRCs on the call, if I'm not being articulate enough, please
Yeah,
help
and
clarify.
with another difference between in-home service and then supported living service provided by a provider with supportive in-home license. The difference is that with the in-home, if the person is scheduled to have maybe 2 hours support during the day, that is what you do. But with the supportive in-home, it is around the clock. The person needs help and support is provided only when the person needs it. It's like staff is on call to provide that service in a timely manner. But as compared to the in-home, if a staff is scheduled for 2 hours or 5 hours that day, that is what the staff is going to do. So that is another difference. And with the billing, it is for in-home, it is hourly. For supportive in-home, it is daily. So with the in-home, you are going to be reimbursed based on the number of hours our support you provide to the person with a supportive in-home, even if it's 30 minutes that day or 2 hours that day, you are going to bill for the entire day. But staff needs to be on call or available to provide support.
Sorry, just to make a correction, you misspoke. For supported living, it's it's per diem service, and it's daily billing. So the 344 days daily billing.
Yes.
Yeah. How many individuals may live in supportive living? That would be a question for your licensing specialist. It would depend on how many roommates, I guess, the person has in their home that they've chosen as roommates. That would be a little outside of our realm as community resource consultants. Oh, I'm sorry. I guess everybody doesn't see that question. I have to get used to things not being in chat. I'm sorry. The question was how many individuals may live in supportive living, 1, 2, or more. I was saying that question needs to go to licensing. I'm thinking that in a in-home, under a supportive in-home license, it would depend on each particular person's situation, because in a supportive in-home situation, just one person could receive the service and, be living, with a roommate who doesn't receive the service. It's very different than how it's traditionally been provided. Any other thoughts on that? Other CRCs on the call?
So, yeah, I don't know if she means the supervised living residential setting where the home is controlled, and that I would think it's a licensing question. For supportive in-home service, where the individual is receiving the service in the comfort of his or her own home or in an apartment, that depends on the person's need. So if you have 1 or 2 or 3 individuals in an apartment receiving the service, that support is going to be provided to them based on their needs and how that support could be delivered at a point in time and when they need the support. So that, I think, it's depends on the housing arrangement and then the person's living situation. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. For the person who had asked about managing their profile on the My Life, My Community page, Barry just put the link in the chat. Jen is answering a question about the 344 days of billing. That works just the same with all the other per diem services, supported, group homes and sponsored residential. So she's answering that in chat. This question, can we find detailed service descriptions on both programs, and can we add the info to chat? So yes, if somebody could put a link to the regulations and the manual there in chat for people, so you can find detailed service descriptions and allowable activities and all that information you need in the DD waiver regulations and in the DD waiver policy manual, as well as for all of the other DD waiver services. You can find all that information in there. Let's see. Okay, so Latoya says she was referring to the controlled setting. So yeah, so you would reach out to your licensing specialist for your question about how many people could live in a supported living environment. You have to talk to your licensing specialist for that. Thank you. Let me answer, that was answered live. This was answered live. Okay, do we have any other questions before we end today? I don't see anything else coming up right now, so I appreciate everyone today. Everyone has had such wonderful questions. If you have anything else that comes up, please reach out to your, oh, yes, thank you, Andy. I'm going to copy and paste this in chat. Andy had shared a video that describes very well the 344-day billing rule, and I love this video. It's great. I just copied and pasted it into chat. Thanks, Andy. Anyway, thank you all. It's been a wonderful, wonderful PRT presentation forum. Thank you, Dorcas. Thank you, Kim. Everyone have a wonderful rest of your day. Have wonderful holiday season, and we will see you, I guess, in January will be our next provider roundtable. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.